Welcome to the Rustic Garden. Today's video is all about trellising. I'm going to show you the trellises in my yard for cucumbers, for beans, for any kind of vining plant that you need to trellis or grow vertically upwards. And I'm going to show you how to build a 14-foot collapsible pole trellis for your hops plant, or even for some of your pole beans that can get 14 feet tall. There's 3 different varieties of hops in there. I think I have the Cascade, the Centennial, and let's quickly look at this one. And this is the Chinook. But I'm going to take these 16-foot 1x1s. They were $3.97 per 8-foot post. And I'm going to show you how to use wing nuts, carriage bolts, and build a collapsible 14-foot pole or trellis. Let me set up and we'll get started. So you're going to need for materials, these are 6-inch carriage bolts. They're 1/4 inch width. This is what's going to secure 2 of these together. You also need 1/4 inch wing nuts to go on the edge here, and then also 1/4 inch washers to be dropped on both sides for when you put the post together. It's going to be pretty straightforward build. We are taking 8-foot poles. We're going to overlap them about 1 foot like this, and then we're going to drill in 1, 2, 3 holes. They're each going to get a carriage bolt through there, and then the wing nuts will secure them, and you're going to have a 16-foot pole. When you take them out, when you take the top 2 out, well, you take the top one out, the bottom one out, the single one's going to allow this to pivot and close over just like that. I'll show you how it is all set up, but then we'll be able to harvest whatever is up top. There's also going to be a trick we need to do, because if we let the vine wind around here and then try and bend it down, it's going to break the vine. So we're going to take some rope, and we're going to make a big elbow here around this joint so that the vine grows this way, and then when we bend it to be able to harvest it, the vine's not going to snap. So let me set up the drill, get the holes drilled, and then show you those parts. Alright, the first carriage bolt is in. First tip is you want to make sure you have a drill bit that is slightly bigger than your 1/4 inch carriage bolt, or at least big enough that it's nice and loose so that you can do this. This is the center holes. There's a hole right here and a hole right here. You want to be about 1.5 inches, 2 inches from the bottom, 1.5 inches, 2 inches from the bottom, and put 2 holes straight through here and 2 holes straight through here. Those 2 are going to be put on when we're setting this up. I'll show you how to do that during the setup. But this is going to be the pivot or the elbow, so that when we take the 2 bolts out, this will collapse down and we'll be able to harvest the top 6-8 feet of whatever we're growing up. And in my case, it's going to be the hops plant, but you can certainly do pole beans. You're going to set it up by just dropping the carriage bolt through. There's the holes. And you might want to get a clamp to hold these, because it does move a little bit, or have somebody help you. But you're just going to drill straight through. 1 hole, 2 hole, 3 hole. Put the carriage bolt through. If I had a bit that was a little bit bigger, these squares would have dropped into there, but nothing is perfect at the Rusted Garden. The principles are pretty sound, but construction is not always perfect, but that's okay, just go with it. So you put the carriage bolt through, you're going to put a washer under there, and then just the wing nut. And this is going to be an easy way to just take these off as needed. So let me cut a point into one of these, and then we'll get to setting it up. It's really, really easy. This doesn't take any time at all. Okay, so here it is with a single carriage bolt in there, and you can see how it will collapse down just like that, and that's going to make for easy harvesting. First thing you want to do is you're going to cut the tip of one of the 8-foot poles, stakes, just at an angle, and make a nice sharp point. And you're going to want to sink it in at least 2 feet. You want this in to a nice depth so that it's secure, because you're going to have, you know, a good 14 feet of height on this, and you just want to make sure it's in the ground nicely. I'll talk about alternatives that you can do to help support the bottom, but I really like this design, especially for the hops. And we're going to just lift this up and put in the other carriage bolts, and I'm going to do that from a distance so you can just see how quickly, you know, I can set this up. Okay, you definitely want to have somebody help you with this. Don't do it alone, because it's easy to fall, and I don't want that to happen. If you don't want to use a bench, use a step ladder, but get somebody to help you out. But I just want to show you how easy it is to set this up. So once this carriage bolts in, don't over tighten it. You want it to be loose so that you can just raise it. You're going to put one bolt through, line it up, and if I can get it aligned, there we go. It'll just slide straight in like that. Put the other one in, nice and secure. Put on your washers, and then I'm not going to do that now, I'll save you some time, but then you put on the wing nuts. Let me set that up. We're going to put the rope on here too, because that's the elbow to stop the vine from snapping when you drop this down, and I'll show you the finished product, and then I'll give you a tour of the other trellises just so that you have some ideas of how you can use them in your garden. So it's set up. I'll show you the hops plants in a second and give you some ideas of how you can better secure this if you want, but it is 16 feet of pole. We're sinking 2 feet into the ground. We're using about a foot and a half of an overlap. So this is really what? 3 feet minus from 16, so it's about 12, 13 feet tall. Perfect for beans, perfect for a hop plant. Hops may outgrow that, but that's okay. The vine will just hang down and go back up the pole. Don't grow anything up here where the fruit's gonna get too heavy, but you have the idea. And the important part, remember, is you have to put the rope right there. You could come out a little bit further, but I did test it. So the vine is going to climb up here, and it's not going to be caught here, so that when you undo this and you drop it down, it's not going to break the vine. And what I did is I put on the rope, took out the 2 bolts, dropped it down, and this did not get too tight. It didn't pull on it. It was perfectly fine, and that's going to be the safety zone for your vine that's crawling up there. So if you want to secure it better, again, make sure that you hammer this in at least 2 feet deep. Make sure you get help. Don't do it by yourself. You're going to cut the tip just like that. Drop it in 2 feet. You can see that I put the vine around there. I don't want to undo it now because I don't want to damage it too much, but it will grow right up there. But before I would put the vine on, you could get another post just like that and hammer it in right next to it. Make sure that goes in another 2 feet. You could tie them together, you could put some carriage bolts in there again, but you could secure it twice by putting 2 different stakes, 2 feet, 2.5 feet down into the ground. So that's one way to build an easy 12, 13 foot collapsible trellis, really for your hops vines or any kind of vining plant that may get, you know, beyond 12 feet. All right, let me just show you some of the other trellising options here that you can use. Of course, my indeterminate tomatoes aren't going in yet. My determinate varieties are. They're not going to need a lot of caging, so I'm using the taller cages right now for my peas that are in containers. You can see over there, that is 2 deck posts sunk into the ground, and that's actually a rack. I've talked about this probably in 2 tour videos ago, but I wanted to put all the trellising into one video here. So you can buy that shelving rack at Home Depot. That's about 5 years old, just timed to the post, and that's perfect for your pole beans. And again, you can see them right here. And notice they're perpendicular to me. The sun is on my side, so these trellises are perpendicular to the sun so that the sun hits it just like that. They're not going to shade out any of the plants right there. They're going to get the full sun. You can grow a lot more in between them, and then the plants on the trellis will equally get sun on both sides. You can use any kind of wooden stakes. Just drop 3 into the ground, and you're going to cross them over right up at the top, make a little teepee. And I have Seychelles pole beans right in there, and that's pretty standard. That I think looks cool, and I have them throughout different places in the garden. Right in there I have peas growing up, apple branches that I pruned out. You can just stick them into the ground, let them trellis right up there. Peas are hollow, so they do need to be trellised. Here's another version. These are different kinds of poles. They bend a little bit more, but I just put them in a line. One stays perfectly straight, the others bend in towards the center post, and you just tie them off. And then let's just come over here. So you have trellises, stakes, cages, all essentially used to help support plants or grow vertically. 2 poles in there, some Judah cross, that's supporting my goji berry. Same thing over here for my grapevine. That is the chicken wire that I make different trellises out and use at different times. You could actually put that on the post setup that I just did, the 12-foot one, if you want to grow more beans up there. Cages available if I need them. These are just 3 poles just in the ground in containers just like that, crossed over. And you can see my vacant cages. That's where my indeterminate tomatoes are going to go. And then finally you can just use single stakes to support your tomato plants. Like over here, this is going to be a tomato area again. Just one of those posts in there for my 6-foot to 8-foot indeterminate variety tomatoes. And then I set stakes up right here. I'm going to put about every 6 to 12 inches jute all the way across, and I'm going to be growing cucumbers right up here. But you can kind of get an idea of what you might use for trellising for your different plants. So I hope it gives you some ideas. We are finally out of the frost. I'm very excited. And please check back because that hop plant will be 12 feet tall pretty soon. Thanks for watching.